Hi, this is Dan Henk, and welcome to another edition of the Skull Sessions. I'm a little bit fucked up because you could probably see this thing on my nose where I hit the guardrail last night. But did never mind that. Today my guest is Mark Wheatley, and this is Mark. So what's going on, man?
I'm not running into things, so I'm doing really good.
At least nothing that we can see. Like there's no marks on your nose or your face. Yeah.
Well, I did just have a root canal.
Well, yeah, that's pretty painful. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never had a root canal, but I have friends that have, and they're like, they're complaining about how incredibly painful it is.
the only thing worse than having a root canal is not having a root canal.
Because like the nerves just like aggravated all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Europe for 2 weeks, and I needed it when we got there, and I couldn't get it until we got back. So it was
That kind of sucks. It probably ruined your European trip. Yeah.
well, it came and went. If you're going to be in pain, you might as well be in a beautiful place.
Well, that's a positive way of looking at it. So, all right, man. So, what do you have out? What's going on?
Well, right now I'm working on getting the new edition of the Frankenstein Mobster Made Man graphic novel out. It's
Okay.
being published through Comic Mix, and they have a new distribution system, which went live about 2 weeks ago and was so popular it crashed immediately. So now they're rewriting the code.
That's a good thing, though, if it's that popular. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, except that they've been down for 2 weeks. So anyway, I thought
Yeah.
I'd be able to point you directly to it today, but they're not quite back up yet.
Are they like extending the deadline or anything? Like if it's like Kickstarter, like Kickstarter, like you pick like 30 days. So
Oh
if they're
no, this is an
down,
actual distributor. There's a something similar called bookshop.org that
okay,
is a distributor system online for independent bookstores, and this is for comic book stores. So Comic Book has put together a online distribution system for comic book stores. So if you decide you want to buy a book and you want to have it shipped to your house, if you affiliate yourself with your local comic book store, then they will sell that book to you and they will get a cut of the sale price rather than Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whoever that you would normally go to online. Now
right.
you can actually support your local bookstore. So,
So who actually prints it? Because like I've interviewed a number of comic artists, like especially like indie creators, and
mhm.
so they're like, do not go through Amazon for publishing the graphic novel because it does not look that good. Like I guess the transfer to the paper or whatever doesn't look that good. Like I've interviewed people with like DC and Marvel and stuff, and obviously they don't use Amazon. But I'm just wondering, what's your process? You do go to?
Well, okay, so I mean, technically, um, Marvel and DC sell their books through Amazon, but they don't print with Amazon, which is what I assume you're referring to.
Yeah, yeah.
We print wherever we need to print, but we work through Ingram for distribution.
Oh, like Ingram Spark.
Yeah, right. But we don't necessarily always print with them, but we do distribute through them.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that answered your question.
Wait, is it more episodic or is more like a graphic novel? How long
Oh,
is
for
it?
Frankenstein Mobster. It's a graphic novel. Yeah. Um, yeah. The I'm not doing any ongoing comic book pamphlets or anything like that. Comic book style things these days. Almost everything I do is a book. Um, and that's actually a result of me wanting to tell a complete story in one place, but it's also the result of the reality of the marketplace, which means that if I'm going to sell something, then I'm going to put a lot of time and energy into marketing it and promoting it. And I don't want it to be for just this month. It's got to be a big project to make it pay off and make it worthwhile.
Well, I remember because I'm old. I remember like stuff like Watchmen,
Uh,
and like it's obviously a full story from beginning to end, but you wait and each month a new episode comes out. You
right.
know,
And I
so
don't think that model works that well anymore,
right.
unfortunately.
Well, I mean, that was also like what, 30 years ago? But yeah, when it came out, so it would come out like every episode would come out in the issue, and you could pick up the issues as they came out, and then they collected it all into a graphic novel. And I even had I think it was Glimmer graphics, like the like hardcover slipcase release and stuff, which I was really proud of. But it has like notes by Alan Moore and all that stuff in it. But that was kind of the specialty back then. Like back then, the like selling the individual issues was basically where the money was at. Like now is it a bigger thing to like sell graphic novels?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this is right this minute, but it was like maybe 8 or 9 years ago when I was tracking numbers from DC because I still get royalty checks from them for various different things I did. Their monthlies were often losing money, and it wasn't until they collected them into books
Oh
that they
wow, yeah.
started to pay off the investment that they had in their books. So we did a book with them years ago, right about the time Watchmen was being published, called Breathtaker, which came out as four prestige format books and then was collected into a graphic novel. Um, that ended up being actually the first graphic novel from Vertigo, and
Okay.
it went through seven printings back then, and we did. I'm good. I want to say something like 750,000 copies of that eventually.
Oh, it's
Uh,
awesome. What was it?
I'm sorry, what?
What was it? The name of it?
Oh, Breathtaker. Breath.
Okay.
Um, Visual aid. Uh, this is the German edition of our new edition that just came out in September. That's
Okay.
not going to focus on this. Is it? Why
Yeah,
is that?
awesome.
There
Yeah,
we go. Oh,
just
there
send
it
me
is.
everything. I'll put stuff on the screen so people can see
Oh, I see. It's trying to. There's some sort of weird filter going on here. All right.
it.
Well,
Like I said, just send me stuff and I put everything on the screen. I like to put stuff on the screen because people like a visual aspect to it.
yeah, that's what we're all about.
I remember, so I was heavily influenced by like when I was in high school, like Watchmen and like the Swamp Thing series by Alan Moore and like Dark Knight and all that sort of
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
And like all that was kind of groundbreaking at the time. Like nobody really wrote like that back in those days.
Right.
And I was like, I want to be a comic artist. So like I went to art school and I moved to New York in '98 and I interviewed with Andrew Helfer of the Vertigo line. And I was like, this is perfect.
Right.
But I guess comics were doing very badly at that time because like everything was like super negative. And Andrew Helfer just wanted superheroes. I was like,
Right.
well, that's not really my thing. So yeah, I'm not working for DC Comics.
Not really Andy's thing either, but that's what he had to do.
Yeah. Well, I remember like so I had this very slick from art school portfolio. It was like all aluminum with all these like color prints in it under like under transparency and stuff. And I remember looking going, this might work in art school, but let me tell you what sells. And he brings out like a Superman comic and Superman punching Lex Luthor. And he's like, "You want to do this?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Ah, we don't have a job for you. Get out." I was like, "Wow."
But that was true.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't trying to be cruel. That was unfortunately true.
Yeah, no, I heard from a lot of people. I heard he left like 2 weeks later. Like
Yeah,
I
he
don't know
was
if he
not
quit or if he got fired, but I know like
happy.
Vertigo
He
kind
didn't
of
get fired,
folded.
but he was not happy.
But I remember Vertigo kind of folded for a while. Vertigo was like the shit, like the
Oh
Alan
yeah.
Moore Swamp Things and Constantine, all that stuff, and
Oh
then they just kind of like went away.
yeah. Yeah. Well, um, when the regime changed at DC, they did not want that. Karen Berger had a fairly independent uh, uh, label there, and they did not like that independence. They wanted it all under one control. So
I remember before Vertigo, I talked to them. They had something called Paradox Press, and it was
that
like their black
was
and white
Mark
line.
Nebler. That was Mark Nebler. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
they were talking to me about that, and
yeah.
then that just kind of like disappeared. I was like, did they never put it on? any episode or any issues or like I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah, my partner in the studio, Mark Hempel, published Gregory through that, and they did a number of really fine books, uh,
Okay.
but ultimately that they pulled the plug on that too. So,
Maybe that whole black and gray thing killed them because I remember like TMNT came out and everybody's like, "Oh, this is where all the money's at." So then they bought all these really crappy indie comics. And then I remember, you had shops that had boxes full of comics that were just trying their hardest to sell. They're like, "Yeah, 10 cents each, just take them."
mm. The market is a roller coaster. One day it's great, day it isn't. So, I mean, as a creator, I've always just tried to stick with what I like to do and just forge ahead. Sometimes I get strong reception to what I'm doing, and sometimes I don't. But I keep doing my own stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely what I respect the most. I think it's what most people respect the most. Like if you look at like Frank Miller, he was just whatever he felt like doing. It could be Ronin, it could be Electro Assassin, it could be whatever he felt like doing. He's like, yeah, I'll do that now. And a lot of it
Unfortunately,
were hits.
he
Yeah.
made money at his first few things he did. So after that, people were willing to go with it in the hopes that he'd make money again.
Okay. All right. Well, let's not talk about the industry all the time. Let's talk about what you have going on. So, what's your series about?
Oh, Frankenstein Mobster. He's um, so it's kind of a classic horror adventure story, film noir sort of thing. Um, but Frankie is a sewn together hero who is comprised of four different bodies that were mixed and matched to make his body. And
Okay.
the pieces of
Like
these,
like Frankenstein, yeah.
right, and which is why he's called the Frankenstein Mobster.
Okay.
So he did the four bodies, though. Three of them were some of the worst gangsters, mobsters who ever worked in the city. But one of them was one of the best
So
cops.
does that influence him a little bit? Like there's
Because
that horror movie
all
I
four
think called The
souls,
Eye where somebody gets a eye transplant, but it turns out it's from a killer. Yeah.
all four souls are active in his head, and he's
Okay.
constantly fighting to do the right thing. So it's Shakespeare said that the only characters worth writing about were ones that were in conflict with themselves. Well, this guy is really in conflict with him.
Yeah, I found I mean, this is a sidetrack, but I found that people they like somebody that they can identify, whether they identify as it being themselves or their friend or whatever. They're like they kind of want to see that human fallibility and stuff. If you're too much like the classic Superman, where you're just like God on earth, it's like, yeah, I don't relate.
Yeah,
Which I think is why they related more to Batman. They're like, well, he's flawed, but I see why.
right, right. Yeah, it's. I've always found it a major investment to write other people's characters because you have to um, method act your way into it because they're not reflecting your personality. You're having to try to
But you probably
empathize
have to
with.
put yourself in the mindset. What do you think they were going for?
Right, right. In this case, I'm really fortunate because I write my own characters, and so they're all some fragment of myself.
Yeah, I interview a lot of writers, and they like the people that really pull it off to have that kind of like Stephen King, like you feel is believable thing. Like they base characters off of like friends or family or themselves, people they know. So
That's
like
the best
this
way
is
to do it.
what Frank would do, and then yeah,
Yeah, it gives you a. I mean, and of course, it's based on your understanding of the person, but it does give you an anchor when you're writing the character. You don't drift. It makes a much more consistent, much more interesting character. I mean, human beings, as I've known them, tend to surprise me a lot more than characters I read about in books. so so it's a good idea to really understand how people really interact and stuff because they are much more um, uh, elaborate and complex personalities than characters we usually write about.
yeah. And they it seems like they always surprise you. Like, really? Really? But all right, so let's talk about your series. Is it planned for like one thing I like I write illustrated novels now, but I kept the comic book thing because I really like it. The whole like everyone's kind of in the same universe. So there's like a vague continuity. So like, it might be like Superman sees Batman on the corner or something. So
Right.
is that kind of what you do, like where everything's kind of tied together?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. So, I've been doing this for a long time. My first series that I did was Mars back in the mid 1980s, and
Okay.
every series I've done that I've written is actually connected. It's not, I haven't shoved that down people's throats, but if people are paying attention, they might pick up on some little clues here and there that they were connected. And 2 years ago, I put out a book called Nucleus X. And in it was a short graphic novel that tied all of my other graphic novels together.
So I love when people do that. Like I really like I always describe my books as like if you saw Mad Max and the Road Warrior, it's
Mm.
kind of the same thing. It's like you don't have to watch one to watch the other, but it's
Yeah,
like it kind of gives you a little bit more backstory. But I love when people do that when they kind of expand the universe without
right.
it. It's like you don't have to rely on it, but it gives you a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more foresight.
Yeah, folks who were reading my stuff were getting little clues that everything was connected. But until I did that graphic novel last 2 years ago, um, I never really shoved it in their faces and said, this is how they're connected.
And they hear you tied it together so they can kind of
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
oh, well, this feeds into that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had a lot of people asking me about one aspect of it for a long time, and I decided to go ahead and nail it down.
So is this kind of the same universe that the Frankenstein, was it a Frankenstein detective? Is that how you named
Frankenstein
him?
Mobster.
Okay. But the Frankenstein, is he kind of detective too?
He was a police detective before he died. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and of course he's been brought back to life now. So.
Does he investigate stuff or he's just like
Yes, yes, he does. And in fact, his daughter is the youngest detective on the force now, and so she doesn't know that he's her father though, because he's been sewn back together and doesn't look the same.
is it
Um,
kind of like a little bit like the RoboCop thing where it's like, you're a character, but like the people that were close to you in one life don't really know it's you?
right? Yeah, they can't recognize him, although his old partner uh, has some special abilities, and he starts getting suspicious.
Okay.
And the story is about that arc, about the discovery of who everybody is. Um, uh,
Okay.
I mean, when he's faced with living in the same body with the three gangsters, he has to really define who he is to be able to survive that. And all the characters end up defining themselves, uh, coming down with, where they are in terms of family and loyalty and law and order and who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. It's all about defining themselves.
Would you say that's been the emphasis is like everybody kind of coming to terms with who they are? Or is it also a story that like they're trying to solve a riddle or a puzzle or
It was
a mystery?
very much a mystery, but it's also pretty much a balls to the wall sort of gang warfare against classic monsters. I mean, the town is the port of call for the old world, and so there are vampires and werewolves and mummies and
When you say port of call, were you thinking kind of like I don't know if you saw the show Carnival Row? You
no.
know, I it's one of those things where COVID killed it,
Mm.
but like the first season is amazing. So they kind of have like a London that's kind of the port of call where everybody comes to, but then they have like other lands that are supposed to be like the Americas or wherever they have like werewolves there and like fairies and stuff. So I'm just wondering if it's kind of like that because like Carnival Row is kind of like the like I don't know the Broadway or Bad Boy area where like everything mixes. So you have everything from like murders to like all sorts of racial tensions and immigrants and everything.
Sounds like it might be at least in the same spectrum.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just always thought that there was a way to sew all of that into a kind of a mythology. And the this is like the Ellis Island for monsters. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I mean they all came in through this way, and but they're
The Ellis Island for monsters, yeah.
yeah. So they're
They have
but
like maybe a zombie Lady Liberty.
well, it could be. um, but they're second class citizens in this city. So the gangsters, the mobsters, pretty much you know treat them really bad. Treat it,
Okay.
but they particularly beat up on the monsters. So, but hey, my cab driver in it is an Egyptian mummy. So
That's cool, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
I really like it. It seems like people got like a lot more like creative with experimenting with stuff with comic books as time went by. Like I remember like the days like Alpha Flight and stuff like that, and like just Alpha Flight was like that's different than normal. You know, it's like they didn't bring all the different iterations they do now. So have you had feedback, or are people like really liking like all the experimentation you're
so
bringing
this okay. So the book originally came out in 2008.
in?
So the
Okay.
edition. So yeah. So it was very popular. I had it's been I think I'm up to 37 different option offers for TV or film adaptations. It's been published in several editions, but the new edition is coming out from Comic Mix. And I'm also working on a new book, which will be out probably next summer, not this summer, but next summer, which would be an illustrated novel of Frankenstein Mobster.
Okay.
Yep.
And are all these like available on like Amazon? Like when it's authors, I say find bookstores everywhere. You know,
So
so
most of my books are available all over the place, but since this new one is coming out specifically through the Comic Mix distribution system, and I thought sure I'd have that information for you today. I can't actually give you that information. So
well, if you give me a website to link to, I
I will.
can. So when I publish it, like everything goes in a queue. So I'm like, if you have like a Kickstarter or something where you want it earlier, I can
Mhm.
put it earlier. But otherwise, it's gonna be a couple months before the episode's up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we're not yeah, we're not running a Kickstarter or anything. It just needs to be up there so that you can click on it and buy it.
okay, well, if you want to spit out, I mean, by the time it debuts, that might be that site might be available.
Yeah, hopefully. They keep telling me it could be any day, so as soon as I know, I will let you know.
Okay,
You know, but it's a really good a good option for the comic shops. So I'm really hoping that we'll get it up soon.
okay. I've heard like I've heard mixed things. So I've heard not about you, but like I've heard like some comic shops like we hardly sell any Marvel or DC anymore. Like everything we sell is indie comics,
Hmm.
and other ones like. Well, no, we mainly sell like the mainstream stuff, and then some are like kind of like well, if somebody asks, we'll order it, but it's like we don't keep all that stuff in stock. So, what's been your experience?
Well, I used to really keep up with it, but now I've only just started researching it again recently, and what I'm seeing is that most comic shops seem to be experiencing a bit of a boom right now.
Oh,
Sales
that's good.
are
Yeah.
up, sales are up surprisingly. Um,
Like
and
I've seen some go up and down, so it's kind of
yeah,
weird. Yeah.
yeah, no, this past year though has been a good one for them, and that's amazing considering the distribution chaos that's been going on for the last couple of years. So I'm very happy about that, and I also find that I think stores reflect the personality of the people who run them.
Okay.
So if the store owner is a fan of independent comics, then that's generally what they excel at.
Oh,
And
I just get where you're going. Yeah.
yeah, if they're more into the Marvel and DC sort of thing, then that's what they excel at. And there are a lot of really smart retailers out there who've managed to build a platform for everything, where they can keep a nice shelf full of graphic novels. Their weeklies come out, and everybody comes in to get those every week. So I mean, it's there. Those are the stores that I really see super thriving.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a unsung thing, but like the retailers really help sell stuff. Like
Mhm.
I would do like I went to comic shop. I mean, this is a long time ago. This is back in the 80s. But I remember I went to a comic shop and it was in a college town. So like they probably had like a little bit different outlook on stuff. So I
Mhm.
remember going there and that's when they first told me about Watchmen and that's when they first told me about Dark Knight. And then they were like telling me about stuff like Faust, like stuff that you never see. But they were all like, "Oh, you might like this, you might like that." And,
Yeah.
like for me, it was a godsend. It was like a little punk rock kid, so I was like, "Oh, this like breaks the boundaries." But yeah, it really is the people at the counter. They like kind of feed you stuff.
Yeah, it's important, and I think that's how you find the shop that suits you, is that you find people that you relate to and have similar tastes. So we have a one store I'm thinking of here in Maryland that is really good at that. They have a staff they specifically hired that reflects different tastes. So
Okay,
depending on the person that you're connecting with, they may be the best, you know, ombudsman for you to lead you into more books you like, that they can understand your taste. Uh,
right,
so the stores are best when they can do that, I think.
okay. So going to your series, who illustrated and how did you pick the illustrator?
I illustrate.
Okay, so
I was available.
Um, so what style would you say? Would you say it's like more like the Bernie Wrightson style? Would you say it's more like the Jack
Well, it's
Kirby
interesting.
style?
So when I did the original graphic novel, I was not only writing, drawing, lettering, and painting it, but I was also having to promote it. And that's promoting things can take is a full-time job, right?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, publishers used to have a large sales staff that would go out and actually actively sell books. That's
right.
not so true anymore. And so I was publishing through Image originally with this, and it was pretty much on me to sell the book. So I had to design a style of rendering that would allow me to move fairly quickly. So it
Right,
was more of a, Alex Toth or Darwin Cook sort of simple, black and white rendering style that didn't have a lot of, little lines and things that took a lot of time. Um, but I really pushed the color and tried to support it with that. Now, though, I'm working on this novel that I'm illustrating of Frankenstein Mobster, and there I'm actually going much more for a very fine line rendering style.
okay,
Um, So that is, a traditional illustration approach, where more inspired by Franklin Booth and Joseph Clement Call and Dan Smith, people like that, people that inspired Bernie Wrightson.
right.
So in that case, I think it's a very different approach.
Yeah, I know like people always throw out Bernie Wrightson because like he's recognizable, but I'm like my actual favorite was John Talbot. It's like nobody knows who he is, but I was like he was amazing. It's like take Bernie Wrightson, take some of the cartooniness out of it. That's the
Mhm.
way I think of it.
Actually, I think Bernie was a wonderful cartoonist, but he certainly was great with painting with pen and ink and brush. I mean, he could really create tonal variations very finely.
But I'm just saying, like, some of the stuff was like some of the characters were a little bit more comical, like the jaw's very long, and the nose is very
Mhm.
long, and like
Yeah.
it went with it. I'm just saying, like to me, John Tobin did kind of the same thing with like the heavy line work and all that sort of stuff, but like it was a little bit more realistic as opposed to like exaggerated.
Well, stylized, certainly. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, John's a very talented artist. It's a shame he has problems with his vision.
yeah. I think he's legally blind now, which is really sad because
Yeah.
like right when he like really started to bust out with like the Alamo Swamp Things and the Miracle Man and all that stuff. I think that's when it afflicted him. So it's unfortunate more people are not aware. But yeah, Bernie Wrightson has an amazing career as well. I mean, there are a bunch of like really talented people out there, like Ed Davis and like all these people, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, Bernie actually did a cover for my Frankenstein Mobster series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Um, yeah, unfortunately Bernie passed, but yeah, no, he was very talented.
Mhm.
Um, all right, so I don't want to keep you here all day, and I think I told you I have somebody else that I have to interview pretty soon. But how can people see your stuff?
Um, well, I'll tell you what, since I don't have the address for the distributor, they should find me on Facebook or go to my website, which is markwheatleygallery.com.
Okay,
And I'll have links there to go directly to the other sites.
okay. And what's the site they said is not up yet, but by the time I post this, it might be.
Yeah, I'll try to get that for you.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, awesome. All right, do you have anything else you want to throw out there to the social sphere?
No, that'll be it. Appreciate it.
Please like and subscribe before he kills again.